Hello, it's December 24th, 2023. It's been quite some time since we've been able to put out a video, and there have been some very purposeful reasons for that. And so we're going to give you a bit of an update, just very brief update, and some reflections on what God has taught and put on my heart about these times when ministry stops. What we would consider ministry work, God says to stop for a moment, pause. And sometimes that seems very strange to people looking on the outside, and it seems strange to myself and to Shannon. And why would God have us stop? But it becomes very evident as God speaks to our spirit and to the directions He gives us, that He says, I want you to stop for a moment. I have something else for you to work on. I have personal growth in this area. I am bringing a circumstance which I want you to stop what you were doing, the focus that you had, and I want you to focus on something else, because I want you to flow in my spirit. I want you to watch what I'm doing in this circumstance. And we learn to never put any kind of work, any program, any idea, any goal that we have ahead of Christ, ahead of the Father and what He is doing at any moment. So quickly, the update would be that Shannon has started going to college locally here, and it's something that God put on her heart very firmly, and it's a personal growth step. It's meant to train her, to grow her in areas of her character and her nature and her development. Not so much just seeking employment, that she has to go and get this degree and has goals for employment or a career of any sorts. It's a process that God is taking her through, and maybe Shannon will get on in a later video and talk more about what she's been going through and what God is leading her through in the process. So she has been very busy, extremely busy, going to college. She started her first quarter in late September, and she took some very high-level classes, going for the second part of her degree, her Bachelor of Arts degree. And the application process was an extremely long process. Then God put a pause on her start date, and so she was supposed to wait, and actually wait almost another year to start. And those are the things where God says, hey, we're going in this direction. And He said, oh, now we're going to change for a second. And that has been challenging to wait, as God has us wait on Him. So much of His training and His testing is His times of waiting. When we so desperately want to move, He wants to see, will you stop and will you wait? So we've been through that process of waiting. So Shannon got to start college and end of September, and she quickly became very, very busy. These classes were very challenging, and they are meant to be challenging. God's work that He is doing in training her is to put her through some big challenges in terms of workload. And we also had another development where my son's car was stolen, and it was destroyed, it was totaled. My son was very attached to his car as his mode of transportation. He is also going to college classes locally as well, so he very much needed his car daily, and we had a lot of an enjoyment with his car. It was a hobby for us to work on his old car. It was a much older car, but we did some work on it, and we fixed it up, and we customized it a bit, and so he was very happy with his car. And God allowed kind of that shocking tragedy to happen, that someone took his car, and it was shocking to all of us, to him, to me, to Shannon. And we really had to go to God and say, okay, you've allowed this to happen, and we don't understand, but we're going to trust you, and we're going to thank you and be grateful for what you're doing, and trust that you are going to bring the answers. So we have been looking for a new car for him for quite a while. We're looking for something kind of specific. So it's taking time, and we're having to wait on God and for that as well. So a couple circumstances, Shannon being in some very, very challenging classes, and my son's car being stolen, and then I am doing a lot of the legwork to try to research this particular type of car he wants, and then support Shannon as well with a lot of things so she can focus very heavily on the schoolwork that she has, which was requiring a lot of her. So God's at that point made it clear to me that we're going to pause for a second. I've got other things for you to do. So the reflection upon that update and that pause, let me add, that pause is kind of like God had me step away from a social media account where I was doing more speaking and engaging, so to speak, connecting, engaging, trying to get out this message of discipleship and speak about God on a social media account. God had me step away from that, and also to step away from the videos because I was too busy, and God made it clear to stop that. It's okay, stop that for the moment. I have you in a season where I am teaching you something else. I'm testing you, I'm training you in this difficult process. So the reflection on ministry that I get from this during this time, it's been about beginning of October since we entered into sort of this season or this time period, that the reflection is that ministry, we have said that Shannon and I God has called us into full-time ministry. So in our minds, in our Christian minds, we say, oh, that's your job, that's your work, that's your career. And especially in Christian religion, those things are separate. We have like Christian ministry is like this vocation that you do, and then your personal stuff is over here. But what God is showing me through so many long processes that he's leading me through this real discipleship process, just like the first disciples went through, that ministry is life with Christ. It is not a vocation. It is not a job that you go and you interview for, and that's your 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It is not a system or a program with which you continually put out a product for God. It is not a process where God is up there with his time stamp, and I need to clock in every day at 8 o'clock and do God work where I teach or preach or put out videos, and if I don't do that, God is up there watching as like a boss. Like we think of man-controlled structures, companies, government, things like that. Think the systems of employment where we make our livelihood in this world. God does not work that way. Jesus leads through life. So the reflection that I want to bring to you and the clarity that separates this discipleship walk from religion is that ministry is simply life with Christ, discipleship life with Christ, where we walk with him, we go with him, we sit and stay when he says to sit and stay. We get up and walk when he says to get up and walk. This is not a job. This is a life with Christ. doing exactly what he says to do when he says to do it. And it's a wonderful process. So that's one clarification that I would bring to what real ministry is. It is simply living out the Father's will. And that can have, Christ is always teaching and training. He is always leading his sheep, his disciples, in ways that we can't fathom. He is training us personally. He is training us for what we would call real work. The work that he has for us to do. The work he has for us to do is personal, and it has what we would say outward ministry results as well. So what I'm saying is that anyone that walks this discipleship life out with Christ is going to be in ministry. This is not a career. Shannon and I, are not employed by any religious organization, denomination, any church. We are doing what God the Father has us to do. So if God says, we're going to stop the videos for a moment, we are going to stop the social media accounts, we're going to stop doing what is ministry type work that we see in Christian religion, and we're going to work on this for a while. We're going to work on you, Sean, personally. We're going to work on you, Shannon, personally. I'm going to bring circumstances that require you to stop. And I'm going to train you through the circumstances that I put you in at that moment. And we have to be, a disciple has to be ready to say, okay, I'm going to do whatever God says to do. I'm never going to get ahead of God. I am never going to put the work that I think I need to do for him as priority. Whatever he says to do is ministry work. And as I said, every disciple will be in ministry. Your life, if you choose to walk with Christ as the first disciples did, as his gospel, his discipleship gospel, that we must leave our lives and follow him, you will be in ministry. Your life will be ministry. You may go out and work a job in the world and may not be what people think is ministry, but your life is ministry. My life is ministry. Shannon's life is ministry. Anyone who is a disciple of Christ is in ministry. I'll say it again. Your life with Christ is ministry work, full-time ministry work. If he puts us in prison, so to speak, like the disciples, where they are made to sit, and if he puts us in a cave like David, and we are not even close to the vision or calling that God has put on our life, we are still in ministry. We are where God has us to be, learning what he has us to learn. It is his plan, not a career, job, program, or system. So, to try to keep this short, that is the update. We've had a process where circumstantially God has put us in a place where we needed to stop for a moment. So hopefully this video marks us coming back and putting out some more videos. But we will flow in what God tells us to do. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.